High-speed rail, the promise of a faster, smarter way to travel. Americans have waited years for that promise to be fulfilled. California's ambitious rail plan sparked hope, and Brightline West reignited it, but now both seem stuck in slow motion. What's really going on? In this episode of Great Trainspeed, we dig into the delays, the drama, and the dream that refuses to die. Brightline is the only private provider of modern, eco-friendly, intercity passenger rail service in America. Recognized by Fast Company as one of the most innovative companies of 2024, Brightline offers a guest-first experience designed to reinvent train travel and take cars off the road by connecting city pairs and congested corridors that are too short to fly and too long to drive. Brightline West is the first true high-speed passenger rail system in the nation by connecting Las Vegas and Southern California. This 218-mile all-electric high-speed rail service will include a flagship station in Las Vegas, with additional stations in Apple Valley, Hesperia, and Rancho Cucamonga. At speeds of up to 200 miles per hour, trains will transport passengers from Las Vegas to Rancho Cucamonga in approximately 2 hours, twice as fast as the normal driving time. The train sets for Brightline West, designed by Siemens Mobility, will feature cutting-edge technology, including modern, luxurious interiors, eco-friendly systems, and compliance with ADA accessibility standards. The project also aims to alleviate traffic on the I-15 corridor, which sees heavy congestion due to millions of drivers traveling between Las Vegas and Southern California each year. As with many U.S. rail projects, construction costs have surged, and this one is on a path similar to California's high-speed rail. So what funding challenges is it actually facing? We'll break it down in the next segment. If this interests you, hit subscribe so you don't miss any updates. We're aiming for 15,000 subscribers, and your support means a lot. In early October 2025, multiple news outlets confirmed that Brightline West's budget has jumped to roughly $21.5 billion, up from the prior $16 billion estimate surge of about $5.5 billion, or around 35%. There's a small but notable nuance on the number. Brightline West's team says the actual cost is $21.05 billion, while the federal listing shows $21.5 billion. Local reporting in Las Vegas attributes the discrepancy to a misprint on the federal site. Regardless, the headline is, "The same costs are materially higher than previously planned." Why the jump? CEO Mike Reininger points to classic 2020 construction pressures, labor and materials inflation compounded by simultaneous demand from data centers, power plants, and other big infrastructure jobs. If you're building in the same moment, tech, energy, and transport are all scaling, you're competing for the same concrete, steel, and crews, and you pay for it. Those higher costs force a financing pivot. Brightline West is now pursuing a $6 billion federal loan to replace a previously contemplated $6 billion bank facility. That swap matters. A government loan typically offers longer terms and lower fixed rates compared with private bank debt, which can be pricier and more sensitive to market swings. In a capital stack that already includes $5.5 billion in tax-exempt bonds, Brightline says it will also raise additional equity to plug most of the new $5.5 billion gap. In short, more public credit support, more owner cash, less reliance on a big bank line. The federal vehicle here is the RRIF program, Railroad Rehabilitation and Improvement Financing, which can finance up to 100% of eligible railroad project costs with repayment periods up to 35 years and interest rates keyed to the government's own borrowing costs. For a mega project with a long payback profile, that structure is hard to beat. When the cost increase was announced, the value of Brightline West bonds dropped. One bond with a 9.5% interest rate fell from about 92 cents to 87 cents. Investors are now asking for more return because they see more risk. But some experts say not to worry too much. The company behind the project has managed to get funding in the past, even if this news isn't ideal. Service now has been pushed back. Many reports now target 2029 instead of earlier, more optimistic dates. What does this mean for travelers? Even with the higher budget, the time value proposition still looks competitive. A roughly 2-hour rail trip from Rancho Cucamonga to Vegas versus 3.5 to 6 hours driving or 2.5 hours for a flight, once you include airport dwell time. For the 47 million annual trips in the corridor, rail's best bet is to capture a meaningful share by offering reliability and comfort that neither driving nor flying can consistently guarantee, especially on congested weekends. Politically, the contrast with California high-speed rail continues to shape the narrative. Brightline West's model is billed as mostly private, with targeted federal support, and it's generally received friendlier rhetoric than California's state-run megaproject, whose costs have ballooned from $33 billion in 2008 to estimates as high as $89 to $128 billion, drawing periodic federal criticism and funding pullbacks. Whatever your view, the comparison emphasizes how project delivery models and perceived execution capacity affect political air cover and investor confidence. From a finance point of view, the next big steps are getting approval and final terms for a $6 billion loan. If the U.S. Department of Transportation agrees to give the loan with good repayment terms, it could lower the project's financial risk and help calm the bond market. A longer loan term and lower interest rate would make it easier to manage debt payments. Just as important is how quickly the company can raise more money from investors. As CEO Mike Reininger said, new investment will cover most of the extra costs. Where that money comes from, current backers, new funds, or partners, will show how confident people are in the project. Investors will want an updated construction plan that includes extra buffers for things like materials, labor, and moving utilities. They'll also want clear updates on key parts of the project, like land access, power supply, and station connections. Building in the I-15 median helps reduce risk, but doesn't remove it completely. Lastly, showing strong passenger demand is important. As Brightline Florida grows, any ridership and pricing data that could apply to the Vegas route will help prove that Brightline West can keep trains full and cover costs, even if construction costs go up. What do you think? Will this become a real hurdle that delays Brightline West? Drop 1 if you think the project can weather it, 0 if you think delays are coming. Here's the mood from riders and would-be riders as the Brightline West price tag climbs to $21.5 billion, a mix of resignation, stubborn optimism, and hard-edged skepticism. Many aren't surprised. Cost overruns feel baked in for U.S. megaprojects, yet they're still rooting for the train, with a few saying that even a 2030 opening would be a real achievement. Others see a lesson in the headlines. Privatized high-speed rail isn't immune to the same delays and overruns that dog public projects. There's also a personal, time-is-ticking urgency. An older LA resident hopes to ride true high-speed rail in the U.S. while I still have my wits, capturing how symbolic this line feels after decades of false starts. On the flip side, some express deep cynicism, we can't build anything anymore, and argue that America's car culture will always be the biggest barrier, especially for trips like Vegas-LA. Finally, a political thread runs through the comments, with a few blaming current economic policy for escalating costs. Yet even among critics, you hear a through line of desire. Vegas locals with family in LA, Angelinos tired of the drive, people who want this built despite the sticker shock. In short, hope persists, but patience and trust are wearing thin. And that's it for today, folks. Thanks again for tuning today. See you next time.